Okay, just setting up the live stream. Nearly there. So, we finally have the Vulcan bomber in Flight Simulator 2024. I'm just going to check the volume levels, make sure everything's coming through okay. It looks okay at the moment. Okay, my voice is coming through a bit quietly though, so I'm just going to double check that. I wonder if Windows is playing its usual tricks. Yep, something has moved the volumes. It's better now. Very, very frustrating. Okay, so somebody in the live stream, Martin, is saying it's Star Trek time. A different sort of Vulcan. But there we go. So we do need to go and play with the throttle controls before we get going. So we're going to go into settings and go to controls. And I have got a basic setup. So you can see here, if I look at the throttle quadrant, it'll have nothing because it's a new aeroplane, not configured it yet. So I know I've got several different profiles, so I'm going to go and pick one. So this has got 4 engines, but if I say basic throttle and propeller, let's see if I've got a basic one for 4 engines. Yeah, I've got a 4-engine one here. That could do with a better name, really, couldn't it? Rename. Basic 4-engine. Okay, so basic 4-engine, I'll have 2 engines mapped to the left stick, 2 to the right stick. So let's go and try it. Back. So we're going to go and jump inside the cockpit, and we're going to go and look across and make sure, yeah, it's the wrong, they're on the wrong axis. They might not be, actually. Let's just try something. No, they're fine. I'd forgotten. You have to unlock the throttles on the Vulcan. Someone's asking about helicopter lessons. No time soon, because the helicopters are so badly bugged, it's untrue. They've kind of got some hard coding around the governors, which makes most throttle controls not work correctly with them. Or certainly the Airbus quadrant doesn't work, no matter what you try and do with it. Or not reliably, anyway. Okay, so we are going to run around getting the Vulcan up and running, and then we're going to take it for a fly. So, first things first, let's go and look inside. So, normally in Flight Simulator, you go into Flight Performance and Mass and Balance and Fuel to set the fuel, which you can do. You can see I've got external available as well, but we've also got, within this aircraft, various options down here in the tablet. So we can go in here and go and click on the little thing there, and you can set what you've got in terms of fuel. So you can put total weight or fuel weight. So you can set obviously the percentage, and it will change it from the tablet as well. We're going to leave it as it is. We can also put various things around the aircraft. Anyway, we're going to go and put the ground power on, and we're going to go and put the pollust on. So if we go and look outside, if I just press shift and space and then backspace, you'll see we've got a couple of pieces of hardware have arrived outside, and they're just spooling up. So we're at Coningsby, by the way. This is it's a commercial version of Coningsby. I put some notes in the description in the video of where I got it from. I got it from Contrail. I previously owned it, and it's been updated for 2024. So I've got this wonderful version of Coningsby. Okay, so we're going to press Shift and 2. And we're going to go and put the master switch to on or up, which is over here. This is for the APU, basically. Then the LP cock to open. And then press the start button. So you have to kind of get the mouse away from that and press it down, and you'll see the APU will come alive. You can hear a whine in the background. Let me just check the volume levels, because this is a noisy old airplane. I'll turn it up so you get to hear everything as loud as I can. sensibly, and we'll refactor the volumes a bit later on. And you'll understand why I've said that a bit later on if you've not seen the Vulcan. So battery isolation at the bottom left, uncage, flip up, and then let it down again. Alternator section at the bottom left, uncage number 1 and number 4. So number 1 and number 4, flick them to up and back down, up and back down. And then in the first pilot position, so we're going to go shift and space, and we're going to go and look at the oxygen. So oxygen this side, and then to get to the other one we're going to say second pilot on the tablet, which means that the avatar disappears, which is really handy. And we turn his oxygen on as well. Then we go back to the left side. So we'll go to first pilot first anyway. So shift and 8 will take us over to look at the side of the aircraft. So looking at the UHF radio, which is here, we can go and rotate this round to TR, which is transmit receive. Okay, we can set the volume obviously as you need to. I think it's on maximum by default. And then we're going to go back into the cockpit. We're going to calibrate the altimeter. So I'm going to press comma, and you can see it's just whizzed round there on its own. Then fuel cocks, they are underneath here. So we're going to use the various keys in the simulator to move our view over here. So we're going to pull these down, click each switch, and put them back up again. I love how everything has a sound in this. Okay, so then we're going to go over to the right side. Now notice, as I said, there's the co-pilot is in the way, so we're going to go second pilot and then go shift 9 now. Oh, and he still hasn't gone out of the way. But if we look from here we can see it. Okay, that's fine. So pressure selector, which is just out of view underneath. There's so many things stacked up. You can't actually see it. Look, it's underneath there. Needs to go right to the other side. I'm going to have to move. There we go. Oh, no, it still isn't all the way over. Look, and now that's getting in the way. So some of these things are really fiddly. We need to go to cruise on the pressure selector. So then the external light section, external goes to up, and the nav lights goes to flash or down. Okay, so then we're going to go through engine start. So we're going to go back over to the first pilot position. So we're trying to be both airmen at once here, which is a bit confusing sometimes. But so all of this is written down, by the way, in a really nice handy guide that tells you all the keys to press and where to look for everything. So we're going to press shift and 8 again. If you look in the notes of the video, you'll see a link to go and get hold of the checklist to work through. So on the engine start panel, we're going to put the air selector to rapid. So that's over here. We're going to do what's called a rapid start of the engines. And we're going to put the ignition switch to on, and we're going to put the MSW switch to on. I don't remember off the top of my head what that stands for. We're also going to go and move the throttles to 50%. So we need to uncage the throttles and move them to 50. Okay, so then we go back down the side and we press the rapid start button. And we can just monitor the instruments now to see that things are coming up. If we go and sit outside to hear this, it's more fun. Pull the throttles back to idle. Okay, so what's next? We're going to go Shift and 2 to come back to the airborne electrical operator position. And look at the alternators at the bottom right now, and we're going to move them all to up. Okay, having done that, we're going to press the AAPP button. So it's up here. So then we go to the first pilot position and left side panel, so Shift and 8. Go to the engine start, so MSW can come back off, the ignition can come back off, and then we can go back to the pedestal and we can pull the pedestal out. So we click on the lever and out it comes. And we want to put all of the fuel pumps on. It has a lot of fuel pumps because obviously there's tanks in the wings and in the body all over the place. Okay, so towards the rear we're going to go and put the power on for the autopilot. It takes it a little while for the power to come on, but it will do eventually. And then we're going to go over to the left side panel and we're going to go and sort this lot out. So we need to pull the pitch, dampers and auto trim buttons. So click on each of them and it will pull them up and the lights will go out. Okay, and then we press each of these A, R and E buttons, so that's ailerons, rudder and elevators. This is the yaw dampers and the auto trim basically. And you'll see each of these lights go out. You have to leave it a second in between each one. So hold it on for a second, leave it for a second, and you should see that one go out. He says, famous last words. Is he going to do it? Okay, let's do all of them one after another and see what happens. A, R, E. Oh, we have to pull these as well, I forgot that. Sorry. It would help if I did things in the right order and actually followed my instructions, wouldn't it? So let's do those again. There we go. So we'll go out. There we go. So it's ready to go. So what this actually is a system that introduces kind of hydraulic resistance into the controls to give the pilot some feedback. So it's simulating that system. So pilot view, we're going to remove the ejection seat pins. So if we look behind, and where have they gone? Okay, I was expecting to see a pin here and there's no pin. Maybe I've already done it by accident earlier. Not a problem. But I'm now wondering where the pin's gone. I'm going to be looking around the floor for it in a moment. Okay, so we can go down now and close the doors. So the crew door and the bomb doors, and we can remove the chocks and the pollust and the ground power. And it'll take them a while to go away. So we're not in a great hurry. So while we're messing around with that, let's go over to the second pilot position. And we're going to look down here and make sure that we've got the appropriate lights on. So we want the port to taxi and the starboard to taxi. So we are essentially ready now to go. We want to be sitting the other side though. We want to be the pilot, not the co-pilot. So let's have a look outside. So everything's been cleared away from around the aeroplane. It is a monster, isn't it? So, parking brake off. I'm just going to go and have a look at where we are and where the wind is. So yeah, we're going to carry on right and then left. So let's go and try out the head tracking. There's our co-pilot. So this being a detailed version of Coningsby, we're going to see Eurofighters everywhere. Might see a few other planes as well. I'm not sure what it's been updated with. But Coningsby basically is the home to one of the biggest Eurofighter squadrons. I'm hoping we're going to clear the fence and the hangars. They're quite a big lump. Ooh, I'm going to ease to the left of the taxiway. That building looked a little bit too close for comfort. Space. So kudos to JustFlight. The default views are in brilliant positions. So they've not put you in some sort of crazy, view looking at your own navel or something silly. So you get a good proportion of... You can't really see much out of the window in a Vulcan, so it's not a major concern. Okay, just before we go anywhere, I'm just going to point out a few things in the Vulcan cockpit if you've not seen it before in the simulator. There's some really nice touches in here. So this aircraft was developed during the Cold War and it was designed to deliver nuclear weapons. Therefore, you can pull down glare shields around all of the windows, including full blackout blinds over the windows. Yeah, so you can do all of these various things, and it all works in the sim. So you can completely enclose the pilots to black out the outside world for the nuclear flash. Anyway, got a bit of sidetrack there. You can't drop the nuclear weapons in it, but you can do a simulated bomb drop, I think. Right, so what we're going to do before we get going is spend a few moments just aligning things. So we're going to go and... I've got to remember how this works now. When you turn this, yeah, that's the omni-bearing selector when it's pushed in. When it's pulled out, it's the heading bug for the autopilot. So, autopilot. Can we remember how this works? So the power's on now. So we need to set the major mode of it. So you've got indicated airspeed mode for climbing and descending, and you've got altitude mode for altitude hold. Then you've got the whether you're going to engage the autopilot or not. Power obviously stays on, so pulling the levers up engages them. So if we pull up engage, the autopilot's on. If we pull up track, the autopilot tracks. So what does it track though? So that is controlled via this panel here. So you've got bomb mode, which is heading hold mode. You've got remote, which is GPS. You can have a retrofitted GPS in the cockpit. And then you've got the blank one is TACAN. Then you've got localizer, and GP isn't implemented, I don't think, unless that story has changed. So there's your lateral navigation. For vertical navigation, you've got obviously approach mode and height mode. I can't remember off the top of my head what the different ones do. But we're going to use just heading hold to begin with. So when we take off, and we'll get ready with indicated airspeed mode. So it will be true at the point we pull it up. Yeah, it will read the speed at the point we pull it up. But we're just going to have a fly around to begin with. Okay, let's straighten our view up.
Power checked. 60 checked. 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, decision, rotate. Undercarriage up.
It's a monster, isn't it? It's also quite manoeuvrable for quite a big lump. So just getting off the runway axis there, and then we'll climb above this little bit of cloud. So it moves in certain, I'm just reading the live stream comments, it's quite manoeuvrable in certain regimes and certain directions. But you've got almost no forward pitch, and you've got, depending on the speed, your roll rate is massively affected as well. So you just need to be aware of that. So just coming up to 200 knots. Pulling the throttles back as we go. There's conning speed. So we'll do a touch and go, and then we'll go play with the autopilot and have a fly around. Try out some of the guidance systems and remind ourselves how it works. Or we could fly down to Lakenheath, I guess. I've got the scenery for Lakenheath installed as well. It's made by the same scenery developer. Yeah, just to give you some idea, look, that's full forward stick. So that's why you tend to see in the old airshow footage of the Vulcan, I saw it myself at an airshow when I was young, they always pitch over and use stick back to manoeuvre. It's not designed to do negative G, if that makes sense. Okay, we're up to about 250 knots. Let's pull the engines back to idle. So the engines in the Vulcan are the same as Concorde, they just don't have reheat or afterburners. So I'm using OBS right now. I'm just reading the comments there from, I'm not going to try and read the name out because it's obviously a made up account, but OBS runs fine for me, I don't have any issues, but then I've got 64 gig of RAM on purpose because I know that Flight Sim 2024 does use a lot more resources than anything that's come before.
Speed checked, undercarriage down.
So we're doing about 170 knots. So gear down. We're just going to do a touch and go.
Air brakes, medium drag.
Not yet. He's a bit ahead of the game, isn't he, the co-pilot? So if I show you where we are on the map, just to make more sense of it for you. We're just coming back in, look towards the runway. This is the only problem with the Vulcan. It's very difficult to see anything out of it. So we're coming down to about 150 knots. Ideally you want about 150 for your approach. We're too high, so we'll just sink slightly. It does have very good spoilers. So we've got one red light on the pappies. Two red lights. Yeah, look, at below 150 knots it really doesn't like it. It starts to shudder. Remember, it doesn't have flaps. So you just need to be a little bit wary of it. Wary of it, even, not weary. And a bit slow
Air brakes,
there.
high drag.
Okay, so we're going for air brakes. And we're down. Just bringing the airframe round. We'll go full throttle again. We won't bring the nose wheel down. The smoke. We may have just crashed it. We might get away with it. No, we're going to crash. I didn't tip it over in enough time. So to get out of that, we can cheat in the simulator. So that was a really good example of how careful you have to be. I pulled it up too sharply, and yeah, we've blown the airplane. Thankfully, Flight Sim is really good. Let's show you that on purpose. We'll get a bit of altitude and I'll show you ways you can crash a Vulcan. So here we go, look. We're falling backwards. And it will absolutely do that all the way into the ground. So what we're going to do is press Shift Z and Shift Z again, and slew gets us back out of it. Yeah, it doesn't like it, look. What we might have to do in the simulator is turn the damage control off, because you can do those sort of manoeuvres. with, you know, wing overs, and it will be fine with it. Look at the amount of... That's another thing you have to be careful of with this. So notice the direction we were going then. So you absolutely can. Look at the amount of yaw we can impart onto the airframe. And it's going to crash again for the same reason. So you can get into a corner of the flight model where you can't get out of it, and it's done it again, look. So what we have to do is get it flat and then put it into slew to get it out of it. Let's get it flat again and then we'll fly it normally. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, look at the speed. Coming out of slew, it's got us in a stall situation. We've got to hope we get enough speed up before the nose pitches up enough to get us into real trouble. We're just about out of it. There we go. So if you do get into that situation when you're learning about the Vulcan, you just saw, you know, the trouble I had with it. Getting it back once you've got into trouble is almost impossible. So you have to fly it within its limits. Okay, so we were going to have a fly around and go down towards no, which was it? Milden, wasn't it? I've got the scenery for. Or was it Lakenheath? I can't remember. If I do file, new, no. So we're wanting to go about measure distance. I think it's Lakenheath I've got actually. Just opening the engines up to stop us from stalling. So we want to go southeast. So what we're going to do is look down here, and you can see there's the direction of the aeroplane with the circle. So about 150 degrees would be about right, wouldn't it? So if we go and move the heading bug to about the direction we want to be going, let's put some forward trim in as well to stop it pitching up on us. Okay, let's go and say we want altitude hold, so pull it up to engage it. Going to engage the autopilot. We also want to track, and we want to track, it's in heading mode, so it should line itself up. Yeah, look, it's rolling right to turn the aeroplane towards the heading bug. So we're heading off, yeah, it was about 150 degrees. And I think we're actually going to Lakenheath. I'll double check that in a moment. Actually, I can find out, can't I? If I open File Explorer and look in my community folder, and I look at date modified, we got eGull and EGXC. It's Lakenheath that I've got. So we're doing about 250 knots with the throttles at 70%. So we'll look outside and see how clean we are. So let's open it up. So you can see the airspeed picking up. The altitude hold hasn't worked, has it? Oh, it's doing it now. It's engaged it at the point we pulled it on, so it's doing it. So it's coming back down to the height. It was in a climb, so it's coming back down to the point at which we engaged the altitude hold. I must have done it wrong initially. So we're about 13,800 feet. So a nice easy way to control climb rate, then we'll go to 75%. So we're at 320-ish knots now. Fairly stable. So what we'll do is switch this over to indicated airspeed mode. Then if we provide extra power, it will turn it into climb rate. And then once you're at the height you want to be at, so say we want aiming for 14.5 maybe, you just go and change it at the point you get there, and the plane will level itself out. The smoke. So Martin's saying the beta testers didn't do a good job. What's wrong with it? It looks pretty good to me. Okay, so we're heading down towards Lakenheath. So we'll have a play with the ILS approach as well while we're coming in here then. 109.9 on the radio. So from memory, you can set the radio in two different ways. You can either go in here, click on the radio, no, not that one. I have to try and remember how this works now. Here we go. So you can either do it here, or you can use the knobs over here and then watch the numbers here, but we're going to cheat slightly and just do it the quick way. Let's stop that from moving around. 109.9. Okay, so nav radio is on 109.9. So when we switch this over in a bit to localizer mode, it will all make sense. So what we're going to do is then rotate the OBS to 235 degrees. So let me turn off head tracking for a moment. So push this in and we can rotate the whole thing to 235 to orient it upwards, so the omnibearing selector will make some sense when we turn around towards the runway. So the CDI will make sense, sorry. Okay, so let's turn off the autopilot because it's going to be a hindrance at the moment. Because we've rotated that, the heading bug has gone with it, which is true of the real thing. What am I doing? Here we go. So Martin, the reason I had to use slew to get it to straight and level is because I'd put the thing into a corner of the flight model on purpose to show people what happens if you get too slow. It becomes unrecoverable. So this is probably one of the most accurately simulated aeroplanes in the whole of Flight Simulator. So we're just going to come down and circle down and then join the glide path for the runway. No, I'm just reading the comments, this is not the same sort of plane that crashed on the motorway. That was a Hunter, which was one of the 1950s fighters. This is same era but a bomber. As everybody knows, the Vulcans flew right up until the early 80s. And they obviously know that because of the Falklands conflict with Argentina. And a number of missions were flown from a number of different locations actually out to the Falkland Islands to bomb the airport and to bomb lots of other locations. Everybody thinks there was only one Vulcan mission. There wasn't, there were many. So we're going to switch this over to localizer mode. So the HSI will reflect the ILS name. So we need to be careful of speed again, remember, we're down to 200 knots. We have to be careful about the side slip as well. I'm not sure if it has a side slip gauge, so it's just something you need to be aware of. Obviously in normal circumstances you wouldn't be throwing it around. So we're about 90 degrees off of the runway direction now. Just looking now down at the HSI, you can see the direction of the aircraft sweeping round. The omni-bearing selector is set up to point at the runway, so we're off to the right of the runway direction. So we'll go sort of 30-40 degrees across the runway direction. We can also see we're above the glide slope, but it's coming up to meet us. So we're coming down towards the glide slope. We're now about on the glide slope height. And we've just gone above it. We're quite a way out still. And here comes the CDI, and you can see there's the runway directly out in front of us. So this is RAF Lakenheath, or Joint US Air Force and RAF Lakenheath, I think its official title is. So we're just bleeding speed off gently on the way in, keeping an eye on the glide slope and the course deviation indicator and the speed, so gear can come down. We'll hold it about 150 knots in the descent. You have to be careful the engines don't spool up too quickly in the Vulcan. Going a little bit below the glide slope, you can see that. You can see the PAPI lights now alongside the runway. They're saying that as well. It's no different to landing one of the bigger passenger planes, to be honest. It's the same regime of watching airspeed, attitude, watching the glide slope, watching the runway, scanning. Okay, so spoilers, idle, and we're down. It does have drag chutes as well. I'm not going to operate them because I'm going to take off again. So spoilers off. There's all sorts of US hardware on the ground at Lake and Heath, obviously. Okay. So check it out, it's about 270 knots there, just it accelerates like nobody's business. If we go full throttle, let's see what sort of climb rate we can maintain. So but it's off the scale, obviously, but it's probably around 5,000–6,000 feet a minute. It will just about hold. So, should we take it over to Wales? To Snowdonia and have a look around. Take a while to get there. Going up to 6,000 feet. Take ages to get over there though, wouldn't it? Could always take it back to Coningsby just for this test flight. So let's go and set the heading bug to what direction do we need to go? 337 north in the region of that, so we want to go left now. So right turn. So we're going that way, we need to turn that way. So we'll get it in, this is the way you would normally do it, I think, rather than, because these are old systems, they don't react and they're not as clever as modern systems. So you get it into, you hand fly it into the ballpark and then engage it. So we're going to go to heading mode. We're going to pre-engage. Yeah, it's already in altitude hold, look. So we're just coming round on the HSI to the direction we want. We'll sort the pitch out as well. fairly well trimmed, you've got more time to say, okay, engage. So it's now just going to take over and fly itself. One of the only things that's quite frustrating about this aeroplane is, if I turn head tracking off for a moment, so say we wanted to move the OBS round to line north up at the top for whatever reason. Watch the heading bug. It will go with, or the aeroplane direction goes with it, but the heading bug stays where it is, which is really frustrating. So if we do this, we have to be as quick as we can about it. The aeroplane's going to start banking, look, when we don't want it to. So you need to be careful of that. Yeah. So we wanted 337, yeah. So let's see where we put that bug. 337. So it's coming back, but obviously it's very slow at manoeuvring. It's all driven by gyros, so not as good as the modern electronic systems, but you wouldn't expect it to be. You can see in the bank it loses altitude as well. It slips basically sideways. Okay, so we're going to go and set the ILS for 111.15 for I'll show you it on this way around of doing it this time. So we've got the radios here, and I think the way they've done this, you can use these two knobs for the decimals. Yeah, so you've got 111 we want. Okay, so 111, whoops. And we want 0.15. So that's the ILS frequency now, set up, ready for when we go to localizer mode. So we're just coming back over towards Coningsby. If we go out over the wash to get onto the ILS, that would make a bit of sense, wouldn't it? So we'll go and move the heading bug round to say 20 degrees. Not hanging about, are we? Look, we're doing over 300 knots, only at 75% throttle. So let's have a look around some of the gauges to see what we've got. So RPM on the engines, oil PSI, hydraulic pressure, we've got the temperatures, obviously 4 engines, so 2 sets. We've got the fuel flow over there, another fuel flow. So do we get no, we don't get the same on this side, obviously, because they've got the primary instruments for the pilot. So you've got the main fuel gauges in front of us. As you can see, we've got tons of fuel. If we really wanted to, we could go over to Wales, couldn't we? Go and have a look at the Mac Loop. That's the only reason to go over there. Should we do it? So if we wanted to go to Wales, measure distance to Snowdonia, 270 degrees, let's do it. Then I'll go make a coffee while we're on our way. Okay, so we're at 7,500 feet. It's a wonderfully modelled aeroplane, isn't it? Including the smoke belching out the back. Should we take it up to a bit higher altitude while we're at it? So we're going to go and put the altitude into indicated airspeed mode. So it's reading the speed at the moment, and then obviously if we give it more power, it will turn that into climb rate. Just coming round towards travelling west. Yeah, what we could do is have a look around Snowdonia and then go and land at Valley. I haven't got the scenery for Valley, so it'll be stock scenery, but it doesn't really matter. So it's coming up to 10,000 feet. ,000 feet. So if we take it up to about 18, ,000 feet. Climbs well, doesn't it? 14,000 feet. Probably need to be careful about the temperatures running at full throttle for so long. What I'm going to try and do is remove enough power that we stop climbing at 18,000 feet, and then I'll switch the autopilot over to altitude hold. We'll get it close enough. So G Scragster says, how do I get it into 24 without buying it again? You can get it from, if you bought it from JustFlight, you can get it from your account at JustFlight. If you bought it from the marketplace, you're out of luck at the moment. Okay. There we go. So we're leveled out, 18,000 feet. On our way to Wales. Okay, let's go and have a look on the map. Oh, we get a little fighter jet symbol. That's quite interesting. That must be something that JustFlight have done within the programming of the aircraft is, manipulated the configuration of the map. That's fun. I like that.
Bravo, Alpha, West,
So we've got comm radio kicking in. I've got say intentions running in the background.
Bravo, Alpha,
so we've got Lake and Heath. It's piping up. Let's see if we go and change it to centre. We'll get some halfway decent traffic on the radio. So just take you around the views of the aeroplane. So Shift and 1 gives you that forward view. Shift and 2 shows you the APU control and the alternators. Shift and 3 shows you the TACAN. Shift and 4 doesn't show you anything. Shift and 5 is a fuel gauge. I'm not sure why it shows you that in particular. 6 is the autopilot control, Shift and 7 is the tablet, Shift and 8 is the left-hand panel, and Shift and 9 is the right-hand panel, but unless you go to the right seat, the co-pilot's in the way. So I'll just show you while we're flying along. If we go to drive.google and I pull up the Vulcan, you can see this is the document I wrote earlier today and got ready. So it's similar to the one before, but I've added bits more detail here and there. It goes through everything you need to do to start the aeroplane up, all the different views to press, where to look for things, and what to select, what to check, what to change. So if you look in the notes of the video, you'll see a link of where you can get a copy of that from. Shall we have a go at VOR navigation while we're on the way? We could use the Shawbury VOR, couldn't we? Or could even use... I wonder what range Valley has got on their TACAN. And TACAN's not usually very long there, it's only 60 miles. What about the Shawbury VOR? 50 miles, that's not very good either. Right. Okay, while we're on our way to Wales, so Martin's on about the ram air turbine handle. Yeah, it's up above the fire suppressant. So you pull that. I'm not sure where it pops out. I know it's modelled. So where would it pop out of the body, or does it come out the top? Is that it? Is it somewhere around? I'm not sure where it will arrive, or appear, I should say. Who knows without me doing it? Because I think once you've done it, and there's no putting it back, is there? But I know it's modelled. I do like the nuclear stuff though. I think there's weapon control as well.
ED2905, contact Scottish Control on 134.43.
I'm not being controlled.
ED295 request QNH at Heathrow.
So, what we could do...
Scottish Control on 134.43, ED295.
The Mark 13 bombs inside the aeroplane. And we'll open the bomb doors. And we know we've got some bombs to drop. So, although it won't actually do it, you can simulate a bomb drop. But I'm not sure how. Bomb door control. So open. Bomb release. Safety lock. That's jettison. So let's get further away. I'm not sure how this works. I thought there was an animation. Oh well. Close the bomb bay doors. Oh, you can jettison them, so to stay in line with the Asobo rules, you can jettison the bombs, which makes it look like you're dropping them. That makes sense. Ah, we missed them. Do we have to put them back in again to make them work? So then, okay, that's unlocking it. There we go, yeah, you just get a little animation of them all falling out. Yeah, so you're not actually allowed to activate the bombs as you would, because that would fall foul of Asobo's guidelines of no weapons in the simulator. So you can throw away the weapons that you've got. Whereabouts are we? About halfway. Right, I'm just going to go and grab a quick coffee. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I'm back and I have coffee. Always the secret of a successful flight. So let's start descending, shall we? So using the same method as previously, we'll go to indicated airspeed mode on the autopilot, engage it, and pull the throttles back. So putting it back to 50%, and you can see it's hunting around trying to hold the same airspeed. So it's trying to find the right descent rate that holds us at the same airspeed. So 2,500 feet a minute looks like it's going to achieve. So something else that's worth looking at in this absolutely is the co-pilot, or just the modelling of the pilots full stop. They are really nicely done. You've got these thermal suits on. I had some emails with a real Vulcan crew member from the 50s and 60s who's obviously long retired. And, well, not from the 50s and 60s, from the 70s and 80s I should say. And yeah, they actually confirmed how cold it used to get in the cockpit and the reason they had all the thermal stuff on. Yeah. That's been one of the biggest, how do you put this, unexpected wonderful things about having this YouTube channel is the number of real world pilots that email me with stories. It's been by far one of the best things that's come out of the channel. And hopefully I'm going to start writing up some of those stories, obviously with their permission, and sharing them on the blog. So, but before I do that, I'm going to actually start to introduce the idea of a paywall in the blog. Most of the content on the blog won't go behind the paywall, but I'm going to start doing kind of 10,000 wordish histories of the various different aeroplanes. So, you know, essays essentially, but trying to keep them interesting with lots of pictures, obviously public domain pictures. But yeah, like the story of, I don't know, the 707 or the 737 or the Vulcan, or, you know, the planes that we have in the simulator, to give them some background and some colour so people know their history. So I'm going to write them up almost like I'm essentially turning the blog into a bit of a magazine. Okay. We are descending. So we're now down to 1,500 feet a minute, and we're coming down . 11,500 feet. Notice you have a radio altitude as well. I'm so tempted to pull that lever now to show Martin what happens. We'll do it when we get on the ground. With it saying release, you would imagine that means it's going to fall down, wouldn't you? So it's going to appear underneath somewhere. So there's a comment there on the live stream. The control panel is absolutely massive. I imagine it's quite a tricky plane to land with limited visibility. Well, not really. I did a couple of landings already just to show, you know, manoeuvring the aeroplane. After we've had a fly around in Snowdonia, we'll go over to Valley and I'll do another approach. It's not so difficult. I will admit head tracking makes it a lot easier because I can sit up and almost like a cat I can move sideways to get, you know, parallax and look around the pillars, which helps a lot.
and ident for this 16 Alpha.
Swift 68 Alpha, identified QNH 1015. Turn left heading 110, vectors to Vapka.
Turn left 110, QNH 1015. We are in the standard range from the origin of the
Swift 68 Alpha, identified QNH 1015. Turn left heading 110, vectors to Vapka.
Okay, so what we'll do is fly down over around Lambeda and then come in and do a lap of the Mach loop. We won't go particularly low. We'll just go and find our way around the Mach loop and then head off over to Valley. How are we doing on fuel? Yeah, we've still got lots of fuel. So we should, if I can press the right keys, just behind these clouds over here. Yeah, there's, is that the Barmouth entrance or is it further over that way? There it is. So there's Barmouth. So the Mach loop's under those clouds over there. That's the way out, isn't it? You can just see it there. But we'll work our way around to it. I think Chorus is over there somewhere. Okay, let's turn the autopilot off then. Dip down below the clouds. So 250 knots. Going between the hills down here. Welcome to Snowdonia, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go and have a fly around the Mac Loop. And as I said, we're not going to get too low and slow because the plane won't handle it, but we're not going to go too fast either because you lose a lot of manoeuvrability if you go too fast in the Vulcan. The controls work their best within a specific regime. I'm going to scoot myself forward in the cockpit a little bit. Okay, so here's Barmouth Estuary. Drop into the estuary and see how we get on. We're going to need all the manoeuvrability we can get later. I think we can go fast until we get to Chorus, and then we'll need to really put a lid on it. Otherwise we won't make half the turns. We have to pay some attention to how wide our wings are as well. We can't just blindly roll over at 100 feet off the floor, because A, the plane will slide sideways into the floor, and B, the wings are sufficiently wide. You see it from outside. The wing's getting dangerously close to the floor, isn't it? Look. So we're going to be a little bit mindful of that. There'll be a lot of rudder involved in this to force it around corners and to keep it pointing the direction it's travelling. That's what I meant to say. So we're going to go round this hill and then back out the other side, and then we should see the way in. So there's a slope here. We'll turn around the back of it and do a U-turn. So when you come out of the Mac Loop, it's over there. I think, or is it this one here? I can never remember this. From this direction it seems very unfamiliar. No, there's the way out, there. And there's the way in, directly in front of us. Now we have to remember we won't be able to react quickly, so we need to line up for corners before we get to them. Stay to the right side to give ourselves some turning circle angle into Chorus Corner. going down towards Coris ECAF, is it called? And then Panpertog is a bit further on. So yeah, we're not going to try to go left and right here, but we can do a little bit just to show why we can't. It's like a big lumbering elephant, isn't it? So then we head over this ridge and follow the hill round to the left, and then we can get some speed on at low level. So this is Macuntleth we're just coming up to. She's just in the flat of the valley down there in front of us, which is what the Mac loop is named after, obviously. So we're going to get the airplane on its side and feed in a ton of elevator. Coming up through 300 knots soon, just above treetop height. It's nice and flat, this part of it, so we can do this. 300 knots. knots. Oh, not quite, 320. It's not the fastest airplane in the world. And I've got almost no aileron, so yeah, I'm going to wind it back. It doesn't like going too fast. So you can see the hill in the distance, that we're going to go to the left side through that gap. There's our shadow. Keeping half an eye out for pylons as well. Okay, so this hill here we have to pass around the back of. I think it's this one. We'll find out in a moment if I've gone the wrong way or not. No, we're in the right place. Where are we? Have I taken a wrong turn? No, this is correct. So you basically follow the road back out. Going far too fast. Obviously we could sweep round for another lap, but we're going to fly straight down the valley and go out towards RAF Valley. There's the entrance again. Pylons. Skim the hill, overbank on the way in. Or not. Oh, the wingtip. I could see that being an accident waiting to happen then. And we're going to fly straight down back out to the sea. And then set the direction for Valley, which is on the island of Anglesey. Okay, so we want to be turning right then. (340 degrees). We'll get it in the neighbourhood like last time, and then we'll just engage the autopilot with altitude hold and heading hold. There we go. The airplane will now fly itself in a nice straight line all the way back. We'll go back to 50% throttle. So, if we're going to go and land at Valley, we probably need to have a think about getting on the ILS. So there's a slight tailwind, it's only a few knots. What's the wind on the ground? 20 knots, 190 degrees according to this. Although that's real weather, we're using flight sim weather. So we're going to pass Carnarvon on the way. So if we just overfly Valley and then do a teardrop into the ILS. So So let's go and get the frequency, 10855. So just remembering how to do this. The quick way is to bring this up and go .855. See our little lap of the Mac loop there. Yeah, so I was right, like Chorus and Pertog. I'm not so good at the names around this side. I know a wonderful Welsh teacher who spent quite some time trying to get me to say them correctly, and a lot of it's gone out of my head now, unfortunately. Okay, so what altitude are we at? 5,500 feet, that's not too bad at all. So what we could do though, if we wanted to descend in a controlled manner, we'll go and put the autopilot into indicated airspeed mode and pull it up to engage it. And if we just pull the throttle back a little bit, the aeroplane will stay at sort of 260 knots, but it will descend. And the amount we pull the throttle back governs our descent rate, so we want to be about 3,000 feet. What's the actual altitude of the runway? It's just above sea level, isn't it? Yeah, 36 feet. So height is coming off. So Dolly Drambastic in the live stream comments is saying, is this Wales? This is Wales. We've just done a loop of the Mac loop in Snowdonia. Although it's not called Snowdonia anymore, is it? And I can't remember for the life of me the proper Welsh place name, so they've dropped the English or the anglicised versions of the names and gone back to the original proper, local names for both the mountain and the area. And I really should know it, and I feel a little bit embarrassed that I don't. So we're just dropping down.
Control contact Valley, talk down radar on 123.3.
123.3.
I
wonder if Say Intentions has got Valley on it. It might not have,
you are
with it being
reaching
a
the edge of my
space.
radar coverage. Squawk VFR. Frequency change approved. Good day.
Let's try it, just out of interest. If I go to com radio for Valley, tower 122100. Better keep an eye on the altitude. So what's our call sign? H562, Hotel 562. Be better to do this from inside so we can hear it. Valley Tower, Vulcan Hotel 562 approaching from the southeast.
Vulcan Hotel 562, Valley Tower, runway 25, winds 270 at 4. Report when you have the field in sight. Vulcan Hotel 562, Valley Tower, enter left base for runway 25.
Vulcan Hotel 562 requesting a runway 13.
Vulcan 562, winds 180 at 15, runway 13, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 13, Vulcan Hotel 562. Okay, so they've given us clearance. So what we'll do is take the autopilot off, centre the view up, turn the head tracking on, turn the opposite direction on the runway, so what I'm looking at to do that, if you're wondering, I'm looking at the tail end of that to go to 130 degrees on the HSI. So we're down to 3,000 feet. We've got almost no visibility, but I'm guessing if we just drop a little bit more, we'll get visibility. I'll show you where we are on the map. We are abeam the airbase, so if we go and look sideways, there it is. Who wants to hear the howl?
Valley ground, Delta 42 Papa X-ray with information Oscar at ramp 23, request IFR clearance to Nuremberg. Clear to Nuremberg via the Mera 19 Echo departure, runway 19er, initial climb 4,000 feet, departure on 125.23, squawk 2553, Delta Papa X-ray.
So just trying to
X-ray, read that correct.
How,
X-ray is ready for engine start.
or if this even has distance measuring equipment. It might not, unless it's over the other side somewhere. Okay, so we're going to turn back round to 130 degrees in a moment. So angle C is off to our 2 or 3 o'clock at the moment. Should be. Famous last words. Yeah, there's angle C. Angle C is not very big. We're going to cheat slightly here and have a look at the... There we go. So we're about to do a turnaround and then drop into the ILS for runway 13. Get the speed back down as well. Above the glide slope at the moment, but we can quickly sort that out. I'm leaving us on an intercept angle, so 130's there, look, We're about 20 degrees the other side of it. Waiting for the CDI to come in. There it comes. Dumping the spoilers to get rid of some speed. Tower Vulcan Hotel 562 on finals runway 13. Is it 562 or 563? I can't remember.
Vulcan 562, winds 180 at 15, runway 13, cleared to land.
Let's put the spoilers out, let's get rid of some of this excess speed. And wind them back in again. On the right speed now, a little bit below the glide slope. Have got brake chutes as well.
Parachute streamed.
I'm not sure what happens to the parachute when you slow down. We're about to find out, I guess. Oh, it just drops it.
Vulcan 562, contact ground on 122.1.
Contacting ground at 122.1, Vulcan 562. So we can cheat with that. Go to say intentions. And we've missed a turn now where we were doing that. We'll have to do a U-turn. Or should we go across the grass and see if it kicks it up? Ground Vulcan 562. Just landed runway 13, requesting clearance taxi to parking.
Vulcan 562, taxi to park 87 via Alpha Delta. Good day.
Taxi parking 87 via Alpha Delta, Vulcan 562. Have a look on the map in a moment, see where that is. Yeah, this is the stock scenery, unfortunately, which is not a patch on the freeware scenery for Valley, which is really, really nicely done. So I've probably come off the wrong side of the runway, to be honest. Let's go and stop here for a moment. Yeah, Alpha's the other side. Alpha Delta, and then park up here somewhere. Where's 87 now? This hasn't got the parking spots number, has it? They're the high numbered ones. Okay, so where's 87 then? Maybe. Oh, of course, this is not. This is the custom scenery. This is not the flight sim version. Yeah. Okay, we'll just go and park it somewhere. So I'm just reading the live stream comments there about where the sounds came from. I'm pretty sure that JustFlight recorded the story on their blog with the various visits to museums. So we're going to pull in here and park. Okay, so earlier on Martin was asking about the ram air turbine. So let's get the view set up and let's pull it and see what happens. There it is. So does that mean we can pull it back in? No, once it's down, it's down. You're releasing it. So it just drops with gravity. Anyway, let's go and shut the engines down. And I'm trying to remember what to do next. Shift and 2 will bring us around here, and we can shut that down. Close the master switch off. That's all fine. That can come off. Those are off. Battery isolation. We can turn the battery off. And I think that's all good there. In terms of the cockpit, we've not done things in the right order, by the way. Ah, no, the pilot's not sat here. We can get to this stuff. So these lights can go back to their starting positions. The bit we couldn't get to earlier, which was right underneath there, look. That needs to go back. And then on the pilot side, that's all fine. The radio can go back to off. Yeah, I think we're good. Because these are just push-pulls. There we go. The Vulcan. So obviously on the tablet you can plug things back into the aeroplane. So you can say we want the crew door open, please. So you'll see that open underneath and the ladder come out. You can say we want the ground power unit again, please. And it gets plugged in and will fire up. And we could have the chocks and the covers and the bomb doors open. Maybe they're doing some service work. So we could actually go and press Shift C and go to walk around mode and have a look around. Crouch down as we look around underneath the aeroplane. Very cool, isn't it? So the reason there's no red beacon is obviously I've turned all the power off inside the aeroplane. There was one. Anyway, there you go. There's my pretend version of me I need to give him some proper flight kit, don't I, to fly the Vulcan instead of his shirt and jeans. I'll see you all again soon. That was good fun. It was good to get back in, to reacquaint myself with the Vulcan and how it works. We had some fun there where we took off and did a wing over and it blew the sim up, so it may even be that you have to turn the damage off for it to allow it to things like that to happen. And you also saw early on in the flight we showed, you know, the dangers of the flight model. Well, not really the flight model, but the way the Vulcan flies, that you can get yourself into all sorts of trouble if you don't respect it. Right, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I'll see you again soon. Take care.